Hey friends, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. Today I want to share with you some of my current favorite products and products I wore recently to a little party that I posted over on Instagram. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. The day of the party, I was like, let's use some old favorites, and I couldn't make up my mind between which primer I wanted to use. So I was between the Tatcha Liquid Silk Canvas and the NYX The Marshmellow Primer. What did I end up doing? I took about a half a pump of the Tatcha and I mixed it with half a pump of the NYX. And sometimes I'm not a huge fan of mixing, other times I try it on a whim, and on this day, foundation and everything all together were so well. And I love the scent of this NYX primer. Normally not a huge scent person, but sometimes, especially if the scent is pleasant, I do not mind at all. This NYX primer, it smells like a bag of like, what is it, Jif marshmallows? It just smells so good. This is not a product I used on the day of the party, but it's something I picked up on vacation and I want to try out. This is from Jaclyn Cosmetics. This is the Hydrating Under Eye Primer. Oh, it has like a little cooling applicator. I'm gonna try just half a pea size under the eyes. Wow, that's very cooling. Let me use my finger just to smooth that in. That feels very nice under the eyes. You know what, since I'm just testing this out, I'm gonna only try it under my left eye and I'm not gonna use it under my right eye. So that way we can see on the initial application if it makes any type of difference. And I'm gonna go ahead and apply my eye primer. For eye primer, I used my Old Faithful. This is the Hourglass Veil Eye Primer. And with this one, I just like to use a small dab. I can't even call that a pea size. It's maybe a fourth of a pea. There is something about this eye primer. I just really enjoy how it feels on the eyelids. That in combination with how well it performs with any eyeshadow I've tried is just a great combination. While I give my primers a moment to kind of dry down on the skin and set up, I want to share with you a moisturizer I've been using, and since I've began using this moisturizer, I have noticed such a big change in how makeup applies, how my skin feels, and how my skin kind of acts throughout the day. That is this moisturizer by the brand Eucerin. This is the Urea Repair Replenishing Face Cream with 5% urea, and then it says dry skin at the top. I was watching a video, I believe it was a video by Dr. Dre, and she was talking about some of the different benefits of urea. And then I did some searching around and I found this on Amazon and I added it to one of my Amazon wish list. And then I was walking through Walmart and I found this there, and the kind of moreover so in like the pharmacy section where they'll have like skincare for like acne and rosacea or like dry cracked skin. I found this over there and it was around $8.99. I picked one up. I started using it, and about 2 weeks after I began using it, I noticed my skin felt softer to the touch, and I also noticed that I wasn't experiencing as much sensitivity. Now, in my mind, this makes sense. Urea is part of our skin's natural barrier. It helps to kind of regulate barrier function. Having a product with urea in it, in theory, can help to repair any type of barrier compromisation and help things perform a little bit more regularly and more optimally. Generally, my skin tends to be more on the normal leaning oily side, and since using this, I haven't changed anything else in my skincare routine. My skin's just been very balanced and makeup has gone on really well, and I find makeup is wearing longer now that it doesn't really have to combat with the extremes of like dryness that I would sometimes get around the nasolabial folds or the oiliness I would experience on my forehead and nose area. So this has been such a great find. On the day of the party, I was getting ready and I was like, it's gonna be warm. We were going downtown to my friend's condo, and when all of our friends are there, it can get really warm. So I wanted a foundation that was gonna wear really well. I grabbed my Lisa Eldridge The Foundation. This is a foundation that I adored when I first got it. I brought it with me over the holiday season to Virginia and went to go wear it there, and it did not perform really well. And then when I returned home in January, I began trying this out again. I finally published my review on this foundation, and for some reason it just wasn't working for me. But I was thinking, after reading some of the comments on that video, some people who lived in warmer, more humid environments seem to really enjoy this, and my skin has been more regular. Oh my goodness, my skin just did not look great. My skin, the foundation it didn't want to almost adhere to my skin. It was just kind of setting in patches. You could see streaks where it was applied, and anywhere I have enlarged pores, like the fronts of my cheeks, my nose, and on the sides of my forehead, it was cleaned, everything. And I'm like, I can't do this for a party. So went upstairs, washed my face, and I was like, let's start from ground one. So I reapplied all of my skincare, reapplied my sunscreen, and then I primed again. I grabbed my Old Faithful #1, the Chanel foundation. I wear the shade BR12. I'm gonna use my trusty BK Beauty 101 contoured foundation. I've just been in the habit lately of working off the back of my hand, and I'm gonna start right in the center of my face. If you've not tried the #1 Chanel foundation, it does have a floral scent. I've heard some people say the floral scent for them lingers throughout the day. Once it kind of dries down, locks into the skin, I don't notice the fragrance. But everyone's different, and we all have different sensitivity levels to fragrance. Since the beginning of this year, I've been making it a point to review foundations because I was getting into this place where I was buying foundations, liking them, and then hearing the buzz about a new foundation. I felt this compulsory need to buy and try out. Last year, with being at my first year on YouTube, I felt the need to buy everything when it came out. A lot of the stuff I was trying, buying, and enjoying, it would get pushed to the back of the drawer and it wouldn't get used because it was constantly being replaced or buried further back by a new product. This year, I've been making it a practice to shop less. I'm still buying products, just not as much or not as frequently. It's strange, because normally by now, for the last, oh goodness, 5-6 years, I have, oh no goodness, more like 6-7 years, I have maintained my Sephora Rouge membership. And right now, I think when I placed my last Sephora order, oh goodness, before I was on vacation, so sometime near the beginning of April or the end of March when I placed my last Sephora order, renewed for the VIP level. And I'm like, wow, normally by this time I'm a Rouge. And I was like, do I feel a certain way? But I'm like, no. I have more than enough makeup, so why do I need to chase this tier and overbuy makeup that I'm not gonna use? My skin with this foundation is just fusion of naturally enhanced looking skin. And then sometimes what we see in the mirror can look different than what other people see in the mirror, because with me and this foundation, I know I have foundation on. And the way skin with makeup on it looks versus skin without makeup, there is a difference. And when I was at the party, I was talking to one of my friends who also works in makeup. I'm like, what do you think of this foundation? And he's like, he got really close and he's like, you have a foundation on? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what foundation is this? I thought your skin just looked really good. And I was like, it's the #1 Chanel foundation. He's like, I need to go buy that right now. A foundation that other people can't really tell is foundation is like, for me, what would fall into that holy grail tier. So this is an expensive foundation, but I really enjoy it. I used my newer Lisa Eldridge Elevated Glow, and this is in the shade Pink Moon. When the Elevated Glow first released, I purchased the shade Crystal Nebula, which I did a review on, and it was a nice shade, but sometimes I felt like it had more of like a slightly olivey green tone, and if I wasn't wearing a lot of makeup, which I normally don't wear a ton of makeup, then it felt very apparent. It didn't give me the effect that I wanted for a highlighter. So when I saw this shade was released, I picked it up and I tried it out as soon as it arrived. And I really love how this shade really meshes with my skin. It has a little bit more of a cooler undertone. It's not a true cool tone. It does have a pinch of warmth. I would say it's more of almost like a neutral leaning cool pink highlight, which works really well for my skin tone, and I really enjoy this. I own so many concealers, and the video that went up before this, or maybe it was 2 videos before this, I can't remember which order things are being uploaded, but I talked about some of my top shelf favorite concealers, and of all the concealers in that selection, the NYX Born With Me Serum Concealer is one of my favorites. While I was on vacation, I had my second microblading appointment. So back in January, I had my first ever experience with microblading. You're supposed to have your retouch appointment 4 to 6 weeks, I believe, after that initial appointment. But with my really good friend who is my brow artist, she lives back in my hometown in Roanoke, Virginia, and I live in Toronto, Canada. So getting back to Roanoke for that appointment wasn't exactly in the cards at 4 to 6 weeks. So when I was back home, I had my eyebrows redone the day before I flew back to Toronto. I'm going to be using the Etude Drawing Eyebrow Pencil, and this is in 02 Gray Brown. I can just go through and give myself a little bit of depth and dimension where I want it. So I tend to focus on the outer half of my brow and then brush over. So really doesn't do a whole lot, but it gives it that little extra zhuzh. My By Terry Hyaluronic Hydra-Powder, I really enjoy this one because it's very lightweight and it just helps to set everything down without adding a lot of texture. And the main reason I like to powder is, one, to help extend the wear of my makeup, but also when I apply powder products like bronzer, blush, highlight on top, it's gonna help get a little bit of a better glide. So I wanted eyes to really mesh in with the cheek product. So by doing the eyes first, it would allow me to really kind of fuse them into the cheek color so everything looks like an extension or like a watercolor effect. I used a palette I have reviewed on my channel, but I don't talk about it because it's not something I feel like it's worth the price. That is the Hourglass Curator Eye Palette. I picked this up from Sephora when it was first released. You buy the empty component and then you put the pans of your choice in. Each of these little pans is 1 gram of product. Each pan at 1 gram of product is, I believe, $39 here in Canada. So $39 per gram for 5 grams of product. It ended up being like $219 when you bought this little component. And that's really expensive. And I love the color story, which makes sense because I did choose these colors myself. But it's one, when it runs out, I'm not gonna repurchase another one of the refill pans. I'm gonna use it up and then who knows what will happen with this case, but I used a lot behind the scenes because I really like the color story. So I'm gonna start off with this mid-tone pinky color. I'm gonna have all the colors listed in the order which I apply them in the description box. But I'm gonna start with my trusty BK Beauty A503, and I'm gonna use this more so starting in the outer corner of my eye and whisking it halfway. And when I start to blend, I'm gonna drag it a little bit further inwards. The BK Beauty A502, and I'm gonna use this with no extra product, just to go over and further diffuse that previous color I applied. When I'm blending it, I'm pulling it almost into the front quarter of my brow, and that's gonna help to create more visual lift right here, giving the whites of the eye a little bit more of a wide open effect. Going back to the A503, and I'm gonna go in with that darker kind of corally brown right here in this very outer corner and drag to the halfway point of my lower lash line. Peachy rose gold shimmer shade, I'm gonna use my ring finger and start right on the middle of the lid, and following the mobile lid, staying clear of my inner corner and going right under my socket line. Now I'm gonna use my ring finger again with the lightest shade in the palette. And this one I like to tap right on the center of the eye and then on the inner corner. And then once I kind of stamp down, not really blended, I'm gonna use the residual of my product to further blend all over the lid, overlapping that previous shade we applied. I'm I'm gonna go back to my A503. This time I'm gonna start on the inner corner of my eye, right on the seam where that shimmer shade meets my skin. And I'm just going to little tight buffing circular motions blend into the inner corner. When I get to this outside corner, I'm going to do the same thing, working my way inwards. Now, the next thing I did with liner is using something I have been loving lately, the Stila Stay All Day eyeliner in the shade Alloy, which is like a mid-tone matte blue-gray. I look down into the mirror, and then I start right in the center of my upper lash line. And then I get right to where my lashes stop, where my eye starts to slope downwards. And with that, I like to lift my eye slightly up. So right there, I like to lift up. And then what I like to do is use the side of my brush and create the little wedge shape. Then I used my BK Beauty A504 and this darkest shimmery shade, buff right over top of that liquid eyeliner. So that almost in a sense erases it, but you get this really nice definition that just kind of flows into the rest of the eye look. For highlight, I'm using my Laura Geller Original Baked Highlight in the shade French Kiss. I'm using an e.l.f. highlighting brush. This Laura Geller highlight has just become such a favorite of mine. It is a highlighter that gives brightness and light to the skin, but there are no visible shimmer particles. Truly a lit from within highlight that is perfect for anyone who has exaggerated skin texture right here, or skin texture they feel like regular highlights really emphasize. This is also one of the few highlighters I almost like using on my nose as like a setting powder, because even though it's going to highlight, bring the area forward, it's going to almost create a smoothing effect. Same with the chin and above the brow. Since this was a party, I do want to pop up a little bit more of a shimmery highlighter. For that, I used the Dior Forever Couture Pure Lemonizer 02 Pink Glow. Just like I talked about in my highlighting for beginners video, I like to find the very high point of the cheek, place my brush down and buff little circles and lift off. Then I like to wipe off any residual product off the brush, and then I'll go through and blend it out. A new product that one of my friends here on YouTube encouraged me to buy, the Chanel Jus Contrast Blush in the shade 02 Rose Bronze. In the pan, it's a very soft rosy color. It does have this element of a brown with a touch of a gray undertone to it, which makes it a perfect bronzer for my skin. Thank you so much to my sweet friend Lena for suggesting this to me. So I'm gonna apply this with my BK Beauty number 103. Using a large blush like this, you just get a very subtle wash of color. And I like to start high up on the cheek, overlapping that blush placement, and use large buffing motions to whisk it through the upper perimeter of my face. It doesn't feel like a bronzer in this typical sense of a bronzer, but it does this really beautiful effect of giving warmth and vibrancy to the skin tone. If you're someone with a warmer, more golden undertone, I feel like you would see a lot more of the pink influences in this color. This is from the brand Clarins. Clarins has been around for years, and they have really beautiful skincare and really beautiful makeup, but they're a brand that no one really talks about. Jolie Blush, and I have the shade 03 Cheeky Rose. It has this really, really gorgeous, it's like a sweet, fruity, floral scent to it. For this, I used my favorite blush brush, which is the IT Cosmetics French Boutique Blush Brush. And this blush does have quite a bit of pigment for this look. It is very welcome. So I'm starting in the front, almost going under the eye and creating almost a triangle, with the bottom point of the triangle being right under my eye on the ball of the cheek. And then once I have that stamped on, I like to whisk it back and up, almost mirroring where I placed that bronzer shade. I always like to do a buffing step. IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Illuminating Pressed Powder. Product I don't use a ton on camera. It normally lives in my washroom, and I just really enjoy this. It is that same bye-bye pore technology you have in the loose powder, which I love, and the pressed powder, but it has a little bit of an illumination, so it's really nice for buffing the skin, adding that soft watercolor blur without making the pores or the skin texture look exaggerated. Great way to think about buffing the skin with a powder with a low level illumination is almost like adding a very gentle smoothing, a filter to your skin in real life. To keep everything in place throughout the evening, I used my Morphe Continuous Makeup Setting Spray, which I don't know how many more uses I have, but it is going very quickly. I think at the end of it, it's going. You will see this in the empties video, which I'm filming next. This is such a good setting spray. I used the Etude Dr. Fixer mascara with the pink writing. This is the one with the blue lighting that says Super Long Lash. This is like a all-day curl holding, water resistant primer for your lashes. That gave a very subtle difference. The mascara I'm gonna be using today that I absolutely love, I've loved this for years. CoverGirl Clump Crusher Water Resistant Mascara, and I like the shade Black Brown. Etude Mascara Fixer and the CoverGirl mascara layered on top of each other. I love this. It is like lash extensions without lash extension. That's a good combo. For my lip pencil, I use the NYX lip pencil in the shade Nude Pink. And with this one, it's so close to my lip color, I lay it on the side and just kind of color it on. MAC Love Me Liquid Lip Color in the shade Hey Frenchie. And with this product, a little bit goes a long way, so I like to take some right in the middle of the lips, rub it around, and then use my finger to spread it out. The Rimmel London Oh My Gloss lip gloss in the shade number 260 My Eternity. Blot it down again. And that is my finished look I wore to the party a few weekends ago. This is such a good look. I feel like it's me, but enhanced with a little bit of warmth added to the skin. Everything just feels like it's in a really good place. And what I like the most is, other than the mascara I have to use a separate eye makeup remover. This washes off really easily, but it wears really well. So sometimes we'll have products that last a long time, but they're really hard to get off. This is not the case. It just wears so well throughout the day, and it lasts, and it's easy to remove at night. For me, best of both worlds. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and share this video with a friend that you think might enjoy it. In the comments below, I would love to know what are some products that you were loving recently, and if you've tried any of the products out that I talked about here today, let me know what they are. I will see you all in the next video. Take care wherever it is you are watching from, and I will see you later. Bye, y'all.